Welcome back to another episode of Toon Talk TV, the #1 podcast on YouTube. It's another spooky episode for you ghouls and I don't know, what's the opposite of ghouls?
Gals and ghouls.
Gals and ghouls, I guess, yeah. If you're new to the channel, be sure and like, follow, and subscribe. And just know, this is the pod where we get really deep into our religious beliefs. So if that's what you're about, this is the pod for you. But today, we're going a little off script. We got a nice little top 10 scary tunes for you.
The scariest.
Now, Fred and Bob, how are you around scary tunes? Do you like scary cartoons?
Love scary tunes. I actually prefer to be scared rather than humored, if I'm being honest.
I feel like there's a fine line between comedy and horror, you know?
You can combine the two.
I agree with that. I agree with that. That's good. But, let's just fucking dive into this. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Number 10, starting at the bottom. Number 10, Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Any scary cartoon list wouldn't be complete without Courage. Creepy characters and terrifying stories that we consumed as kids. Jump scares, mixed animation, monsters, aliens, and even cannibalism. Living on a lonely farm is enough to scare any kid, making it 10 on our list.
Number 9, J.J. Villard's Fairy Tales.
J.J. mixed classic fairy tales with horror. At first glance, the fun and bright design of this show might not seem like it would be scary, but as soon as you jump in, you realize you're definitely wrong. Haunting soundtrack, hidden subliminal messages written in blood flash over the screen. Puke, blood, and gruesome deaths make it number 9 on our list.
So my favorite J.J. Villard's fairy tale was Little Red Riding Hood. Do you guys remember that one?
Elaborate
Remind me.
for us. Yeah.
It starts out with the woodsman having ass termites and screaming because of it. So Little Red Riding Hood is telling the woodsman that she's going to go out and do this last smuggle run of it's a fairy dust run that she needs to smuggle across the border to Grandma to get the life-saving ass cream to save him.
That sounds terrifying.
It's a work of art, I'll tell you. So you got to go check out that one.
It is. Before we continue this, just know that we were going to link all these in the description so you can go check them out. But on to number 8, Swing You Sinners.
A Fleischer Brothers cartoon released in 1930. This one starts out pretty goofy. Bimbo the dog tries to steal a chicken, but shit escalates because he's got to pay for his sins. Stumbles into a graveyard, ghosts, monsters, and objects come to life to haunt him. The short climaxes with a ton of crazy, unexpected, creepy imagery, making this 8 on the list.
So, do you guys remember? You guys remember Cuphead? We've talked about Cuphead before.
We have.
You guys can see some similarities in art between Swing You Sinners and Cuphead, right?
Totally.
Yep.
So the
rubber hose.
Oh yeah. So in the Cuphead game, the in-game achievement for beating the final boss is called Swing You Sinner. So that's a major tip of the hat.
Whoa.
Yeah, to one of
little Easter egg.
Yeah.
Little Easter egg.
Pretty cool.
So it's obvious that was one of their big inspirations.
On to number 7, we have a classic, Ren and Stimpy.
While not intended to be scary, some of these moments definitely leave scary-ass images in your head. Ren's energy can give you angry, drunk dad coming home from a bar about to beat your ass kind of vibes. This was also one of the first shows to do gross-ups. Extremely close-up and hyper-realistic drawings of characters showing almost too many imperfections, making Ren and Stimpy an easy number 7 on the list.
I do remember this one growing up, and it much like you said, not intended to be scary. Mm-hmm. But yes, those gross ups of like maybe a pimple face or just like a wart or just a booger. Like
The
dude.
teeth episode, you guys remember Ren's
toothache.
tooth episode?
Ren's toothache, it was
yeah.
called. That one was probably the most disturbing for me.
He had to
Terrifying.
didn't they they had tooth beavers that gnawed at nerve endings or something? It was fucked up, man. It was super fucked up.
He grinded his teeth in his sleep till he just had nerve endings left, and the Stimpy informed him that there was a nerve ending fairy if you put your nerve endings under your pillow.
All right. On to number 6. Interface.
A masterpiece. We've talked in depth about this movie before. This movie is genre bending. I don't believe this was intended to be a scary movie, but if you watch this in a dark room, or if someone came into a room and caught you watching this, there is no doubt in my mind that you and anyone else would be freaked out. The imagery and design is completely unique and foreign. Mischief, the pink dude, is nightmare fuel, making this 6 on our list.
Love me some interface.
Yeah, I can't speak how highly I enjoyed watching this. Thanks for Fred for sharing this with me, or else I would have never discovered it. You're right. Like Mischief just puts the fear. I don't like clowns, but kind of like you said, if you're watching this in the dark, this is playing, it kind of feels poltergeisty, like you're about to be sucked into the TV and just made hostage from this terrible clown. Not to mention that the story itself, it's kind of terrifying. Like end of the world, time traveling, stuck type ordeal. What do you got, Bob?
Do you think Umami was intending it to be scary, or is that just kind of what came out?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I watch it and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this looks like a nightmare, but it has just artistic I don't know. It reminds me. It could also be like an abstract painting or something. Like I feel like it's
even the story. It's so in depth, and you can go down a rabbit hole of all the YouTube videos of people trying to explain it. I mean, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. Like who knows? But at the end of the day, it's a sweet watch.
And I feel
if this were a book, I'd read it.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like even though this is like underground animation and not mainstream, I feel like Mischief is a classic horror villain. Like, he gives me it's like as soon as I saw him and to the end, like he could be in the top 10 villains of all time.
And that voice is disturbing.
It's very
fucked.
Yeah. Before we get into our top 5, remember, like, follow, and subscribe so you can see more of these tunes. And be sure to check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/wearethetelevision. Now into the top 5. At number 5, we got Love, Death, and Robots.
As we get into the top 5 on this list, I believe all of these were written with intent to scare you. Love, Death, and Robots is an anthology series bending genres across the board, but it is one of the biggest collections of cartoons consistently made to scare the shit out of you. One that specifically haunts me is Season 1, Episode 7, Beyond the Aquila Rift. Sci-fi 60-minute short about a space crew going into a journey set in the future. They awaken months later to find that they are extremely off course in uncharted space. This story reminds me of like a horror film mixed with The Matrix. And if you're scared of spiders, then you probably shouldn't watch this one.
That one hit me hard too. That's what
That one's fucked.
Yeah.
So so that was filmed in Chicago, actually. And it's weird I say filmed because it is an animation, but you can obviously tell that they started off with actual actors that they filmed for this, and then there's some heavy CGI and animation effects, and then at the end, that's obviously all animation.
Yeah.
Love, Death, and Robots does that a lot. I feel like they almost some of the way
Michael B. Jordan episode.
Right. Yeah, they're like almost filmed first and then turned into animation.
I'll be honest,
it's weird.
I think that adds to the horror effect, because I think a big thing in scary movies is being able to put yourself into that moment. And it's hard to do that with animation because you're not a cartoon. You're a real human being. So I feel like it's easier to show all those details with live action.
All right, guys, on to number 4, The Shivering Truth.
A claymation series that is 100% unsettling. This cartoon is the trypophobia of cartoons. Fully intended to scare you, this show has 2 seasons full of incredibly unsettling and tricky stories with zero predictability. From the tense uncomfortable to the far out and freaky concepts, this show is an easy number 4 on the list.
I think the main thing about horror, I think we've talked about this with Salad Fingers, the unsettling aspect. Doesn't necessarily have to be a serial killer chopping down kids at a sleepaway camp or some type of demon terrifying your nightmares. But if you can just make it someone feel uncomfortable while they watch something, I feel like that's a little more terrifying than all the stuff that I just mentioned. And that's exactly how I feel with every single episode of The Shivering Truth. It's terrifying.
Fully agree.
No doubt.
100% agree with everything you just said.
All right. We got the top 3 coming up. Number 3, MeatCanyon.
YouTuber Hunter Hancock, aka Papa Meat, aka MeatCanyon, has made endless unsettling underground YouTube tunes. The one that comes to mind for me is Sunrise, a Teletubbies cartoon. The music for this one sounds like Trent Reznor had a baby and that baby created some sounds in a dark basement out of rusty cans and piss jugs. Basically, it's creepy as fuck. And that's thanks to Adam Stevens. This is the horror origin story for the Teletubbies that we didn't need. It has vibes of Barbarian with these malnourished monsters deep underground mixed with midsummer visuals of sunlight that's too bright to look at. Our top 10 list wouldn't be complete without MeatCanyon, making him number 3 on the list.
That shit was fucked up.
Dude, it was.
That's all you got to say. That's all you got to say.
Them like breathing in that underground area, like when they are.
Oh, I fucking loved it, dude.
Gosh,
Yeah.
so creepy.
There's just something about the craft and skill that he does about this one specifically terrifying, but just anything that he put. The Pinocchio one, the Grimace one, just unsettling, terrifying.
I think some of the key touches is that he notices the little things and he really embellishes on them, like the breathing, the spitting out of the mouth, all the extra bullshit. He focuses on it with his animation and details it so hard that it's frightening.
All right, on to number 2, Opal.
Visually, Jack Stauber's style haunts me. 100% unique, Jack Stauber's Opal put me on a foreign plane of existence that I can't look away from and can't look at the same time. Musically unique, visually gross. This short is about a young girl that was dealt a shitty hand and family and is stuck in the shittiest attic, sentenced to dream of a better life, consistently being reminded of the loud, intrusive family that has not even given her the pleasure to daydream.
This one, again, I don't know what it is about claymation stuff, but the people who do it right, for some reason, just know how to haunt people's nightmares, and that's what this does.
This
Plain and simple.
For this goes back to me with the style of just a foreign style. Like, what am I looking at here? He mixes like filming with animation, with claymation. It's like, and it's all dark and like filmy. Like it's
the grain and there's something really gross about putting hair in claymation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fingernails, teeth, hair, any of that stuff you
Dude,
put with claymation, that's something else.
It reminds me. So there's this just real quick for context for people out there. There's an episode of The Office where Gabe is showing a film that I don't know if he wrote or directed or just a horror film that he likes. Gabe likes horror films, And it's just like a weird, unsettling montage of things. I think it opens up and Stanley's like, "Is that my car?" And like the camera's like in the back seat of his car, and then it just shows like cigarettes being put out and like someone like heart surgery and just random shit put together. Yeah, that's Gabe for you. Yeah,
love it. So there was a few that didn't quite make the list, but we had to give them an honorable mention. One of those being Real Monsters. It's a comedy horror cartoon from the 90s that was on Nickelodeon. It's based around 3 child monsters that go to a human scaring school beneath the city dump. This one, animation gold, but it didn't quite make the list because at the end of the day, it was a children's cartoon. It was definitely based in the horror genre, but I personally don't really think there was too much that was scary about it. The second one, Todd McFarlane's Spawn, is based on Image Comics' Spawn. This was an adult animated superhero series on HBO in the late 90s. This one didn't quite make the list because it was a little too bogged down with story to be categorized as a horror. A lot of gore, a lot of death, a lot of hellscapes and hell spawn topics, but basically an anti-hero story. So we're not going to put it on a horror list.
I think Spawn, like you said, it has those anime grotesque images, Attack on Titan level stuff, like people being ripped apart, demons, blah, blah, blah. For All Real Monsters, 1000% agree. It's the first version of Monsters, Inc.
It is. I thought about it.
Yeah, it's the first version. That is a cartoon that I would like to see revisited by someone like a MeatCanyon and see how you can enhance those. Because some of them were creepy. Like the dude walked around holding his eyeballs in his hand.
Yeah, he just had armpit hair.
Yeah. Like, how can you make that terrifying? But no, perfect honorable mention. 1000% completely agree. And now, on to our number 1 scariest cartoon, The Curse of Kazuo Umezu.
Dude, if you've never heard of this, just fucking watch it. It's scary as fuck, man. Have you ever thought of a scary monster coming to get you? Well, this did it way scarier than you could ever think of. I feel like I haven't slept for years after watching this.
Well, your eyes definitely show it, Fred.
That frickin' scene, man. What, like when you first the VHS scene. Oh, I don't think I've ever seen anything animated scarier than that. I'll be honest.
I think there's just something about the like Asian horror genre that hasn't caught up with the US because they are worlds away when it comes to just putting scary shit on screen. And that even goes expands like movies. Any of the Asian horror films that I've ever watched, live action, seem to be more unsettling and terrifying than anything that I've seen put out in the US, with the exception of a few. There are a few, but for me, it's like, oh shit, I don't know if I want to watch that because I know that's going to be scary. Yeah.
They're unsettling. I feel like that, just the unhinging of a little girl's head with something coming out of it. Like, who thinks of that stuff? And then not only that, being able to animate it in a way that makes it seem real is on another level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish C2E2 would have, instead of a hentai panel, they would have a horror panel.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Anyone there at C2E2 is watching, there you go. There's an idea for you. Anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed our top 10 list. Again, all this will be linked in the description below. Be sure and like, follow, and subscribe. Check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/realtelevision. Go buy a mug.
Do it.
Happy Halloween.